long before the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Scholar Ernst Renan linked the Essenes to early Christianity in his 1862 book, The Life of Jesus. Though unfortunately, the book was also laced with a hefty amount of anti-Semitism, it also established an unprecedented new approach of investigating Jesus as a man and not necessarily a god. This was met with huge amounts of skepticism, perhaps most notably from Austrian scholar Albert Schweitzer, and the matter was put to rest for another half-century, until the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. For early church fathers, whether they knew it or not, the parallels between Jewish scrolls and their own were exceptionally important. We even have evidence for earlier Dead Sea Scrolls being found in the region and incorporated into early Christianity during the times of the church father Origen in the 3rd century, Eusebius in the 4th century, and Timotheus, a Nestorian patriarch and leader of the Syrian Orthodox Church, in the year 800. The Dead Sea Scrolls aren't Christian, but we can't deny the links made between their makers and the men who went on to form Christianity, with most Bible scholars arguing that the faith does seem to have sprung from a particular apocalyptic movement within Judaism. Why not the Qumran community? There is some evidence for this hypothesis too. In the Bible, John the Baptist, an earlier teacher figure to Jesus, repeatedly scorns both the Sadducees and the Pharisees, but not the Essenes, the same position the Dead Sea Scrolls take. In the New Testament, John chapter 12, verse 38, Jesus says the following:
"As long as you have the light, believe in the light, so that you may become children of the light."
This sounds very similar to the Sons of Light from the War Scroll. Baptism, a form of ritual purification, plays a key role in both the New Testament and in the rules of the Qumran community. But early Christians added to it, saying that it removes sin and transgressions, as well as impurity, offering anyone who wanted to join the chance of absolving their sins as long as they didn't transgress again. Perhaps John the Baptist had been a member of the Qumran sect before branching out and absolving travellers of their sins by ritually purifying them in the Jordan River, whilst living a hermit-like existence from locusts and wild honey. Maybe Jesus met John when he went out into the desert, or maybe he met and lived with the Qumranites. After all, the lower Jordan Valley is only 10 kilometres from Qumran, less than half a day's walk away. Did Jesus take the teachings of Qumran and democratise them for a wider audience, allowing non-Jews, women, as well as disabled and poor people to attain salvation too? Of course, this is just speculation, and we'll probably never know definitively what really happened. But it's interesting to wonder nonetheless. The one most important distinction between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the New Testament is the concept of a Messiah. Though many scholars have tried to equate a messianic figure to the scrolls, this is by no means the mainstream scholarly consensus. Thus, the very existence of Jesus is the major difference and missing link between the two groups, perhaps in itself suggesting a common origin before he rose to prominence. Even after the crucifixion, it takes a long time for any sort of standardized practices to take hold, often in the 1st century at least, blurring the lines between Christian and Jew. The Ebionites, for example, mentioned by later church fathers, were a Jewish Christian group who accepted Jesus as the Messiah, but, like Arian Christians of the later early Middle Ages, didn't believe that he was divine. And there were sects within early Christianity too. James the Just, the brother of Jesus, for example, wanted to incorporate Jewish aspects into Christianity, such as circumcision, sacrifices, and dietary laws. Paul the Apostle, eventually winning out, argued that these had no place. In terms of popular appeal, Christianity was always going to win out over the Essenes. They were an insular and inward-looking elite chosen group. They didn't necessarily want other people to join. The Qumran community applied the strictest possible adherence to Jewish law, including dietary laws and circumcision. The mainstream Christian movement relaxed Jewish law as much as possible, permitting work on the Sabbath if necessary, such as agricultural work. Jews and Gentiles could join Christianity, which continued to grow at an exponential rate, incorporating formerly polytheistic people of the Roman Empire and beyond. Early Christianity had a very active outreach program, and still does today, with early church fathers like Thomas being said to have made it all the way to India, and early Christian churches very quickly springing up as far away as China. Finally, in the early 4th century AD, the religion became so influential that it took hold of the very heart of Rome itself, with the Emperor Constantine converting, and in the process, for better or for worse, solidifying Christianity's place as one of the most influential world religions. Just maybe, the obscure Jewish sect who called themselves the Sons of Light had a greater impact upon the history of the world than we will ever know.